Hello, everyone. My name is David Steckel,
And I'm Katie Anderson.
and we'd like to thank you for joining us and taking the time to watch this brief introductory video that will explain to you how our webinar course will enable you to be able to effectively guide and counsel your college-bound student athletes, also known as CBSAs in the profession. Katie and I are both independent educational consultants based here in Southern California. We're both former college athletes, and together we have combined experience of over 30 years of working with families and counseling them through the recruiting process. Our goal, one of our primary goals right now, though, is to use our expertise and our experience to teach and train high school and independent counselors throughout the country, throughout the world actually, to be able to also effectively counsel their student athletes through the challenges of the athletic recruiting experience. To do this, we invite you to join us for our upcoming professional development training course, which we'll be delivering over 11 sessions, 11 webinar sessions over the course of 5.5 weeks in July and August. Many of you will say, well, is this something I should get into? Learning about student athletes and how to counsel them. Is there a real demand? Is there a need for this service out there? And so to help to clarify that and put things in perspective, we like to quote a figure from the National Federation of State High School Associations that report that there are every year over 7.5 million participants in high school sports in the country. Over 7.5 million high school athletes that are playing every year. So there is definitely a need and a demand, and as far as we know, very few resources that enable you to learn this information. Some of the things that we're going to go through in this course we'll cover with you right now. And one of the first questions that we always are frustrated by is we see so many talented high school athletes who have the ability and the desire to play at the college level, but they are not being recruited by college coaches. Question, why is this? There are a number of reasons that we've observed that have created this problem, but one of the major reasons is the failure to take the initiative to get the athletic recruiting process started and moving along. And it's really not the fault of the athlete, not the fault of the parents, not the fault of the counselors, because for the most part, there's no place they can go to learn this information until now. So our webinar series is going to explain how athletes can go through this process with your help and guidance. We'll be going through, to start with, we're going through what we call the big picture, and it's just an overview of the entire recruiting process from the moment that a parent calls you and says, hey, my son, my daughter, they want to play sports in college. Can you help us? Can you help us? And most counselors, the answer is, I'd love to help you, but I really don't know how to do that. So we're going to go through that, and we're going to go through in detail with you exactly step-by-step process of what we go through to be able to help our athletes to become successfully recruited. So one of the most important things to begin with, though, is getting the process started on a timely basis. Unfortunately, most athletes, probably the majority of the athletes this past year, contacted me in July, August, maybe September of their senior year of high school. They should have been contacting me in their sophomore year of high school. And for one group of student athletes, it's especially critical. It can have a real negative impact if they don't start on time. Katie, do you want to explain to everyone what that group is?
Absolutely. So your high academic athletes are in this group of student athletes. It's critical to get started early. The process, again, as David stated, starting early or midway through your sophomore year is so important primarily because those coaches at those schools want their kids to commit early, and oftentimes will give them extra pressure to go early decision from an application process standpoint. So it's important that those student athletes have followed our program, have done their homework on those schools, have visited those schools, and have a really clear understanding of what it is they want from their athletic and educational experience in college, so that they are prepared to be able to give a response when a coach from a really top-notch academic institution offers them some sort of either athletic scholarship or a spot on their roster. Now, when it comes to the way that we work with student athletes, one of the biggest issues that we run into when we're training our counselors is talking and teaching these counselors how to put together a list of realistic target schools. We have put together an amazing set of resources for you counselors so that you can understand our step-by-step procedures on how to do that, so that you can understand the initial telephone call all the way through the offering of an athletic scholarship and how that gets awarded. Specifically when it comes to these target schools, though, that you as a counselor can feel confident that when you recommend a list that you've hit all the different, the athletic fit, the financial fit, and the academic fit for a family. So the resources that we will be discussing throughout the course talk about the NCAA, Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAIA schools, and which schools offer which athletic programs and where those schools are located in the country. We've got various resources to be able to show that to you in a list form as well as graphically on a map. We also want you to understand where you can find ranking information for each sport. That is critically important information for understanding which schools are at the very top of their sport in their conference and across the nation, and which schools are maybe in the middle, which schools are towards the bottom, even within each division. That is very, very important information, and we'll show you the tools to be able to utilize that. Also, showing the family's academic qualification data as well, in terms of, is your student athlete really a qualified student at those schools? Just because a coach recruits you doesn't necessarily mean that you are, put in the best position to be a successful student. So we want you to understand what that data looks like, and the financial data as well, so that you understand the cost of what's, what a private school might cost versus a state school, and when you throw an athletic scholarship in there, what that does to the numbers. So Dave is going to continue on with recruiting videos.
Okay, for most sports, the college coaches will have a potential interest in your athlete, but they're not going to get serious about your athlete unless and until they can actually see the athlete perform with their own eyes. When your athlete sends out an initial introductory letter to the college coaches, they may cite the fact that they're all league, they're all conference, they're MVP of their team, whatever, and various statistics, but that may look good on paper, but the college coach still says, I want to be able to see this athlete compete with my own eyes, and I'll make my own judgment. The fact is, because of expenses and time factors, most college coaches are never going to see your athlete play in person. It's just not going to happen. But still, to be seriously recruited, the coaches have to see him. So in my mind, for many of the athletes, in fact, most athletes, the single most important recruiting tool they can have is their college recruiting video. And the video has to be done properly in order to be effective. Now, we are not suggesting that you as a counselor are going to go out and be videotaping your athletes. That's normally done by the parents, maybe by a sibling, by a friend who has a video camera, or for athletes that are based here in Southern California, we produce college recruiting videos for them. And if an athlete's being recruited by a college on the East Coast, coach may never see him in person, but they'll watch the video we produce for the athlete, and that is what gets them recruited. So the thing is, again, you don't have to know how to shoot it, but you do want to know what the key elements are that is going to make it a successful video or it's going to be a flop. And so we're going to go through, we're going to show you samples of videos. We're going to go through step-by-step procedures and factors to be considered. The most important thing is that when a college coach watches that video, if they're watching a soccer game or a baseball game or a football game or a tennis match, they have to be able to find and identify the athlete by his or her jersey number. They've never met your athlete, but if they know the jersey number and the videographer or whoever's taking the video has a tight enough picture on the field of play that the viewer of the video can easily not only see and identify where that player is, the featured athlete, but can also see their actual skills, their footwork, their eye-hand coordination, their quickness, all those factors that they can take into consideration in recruiting an athlete. So those are things that whether you're doing it, or your parents are doing it for the athlete, or someone else is doing it professionally, there are very important aspects there that have to be attended to. Once a coach sees that video, the properly prepared video, they're then going to be able to make an honest opinion as to I'm interested in this athlete or I'm not interested in the athlete. So we don't want to waste the coach's time or your family's time if there's no interest. But if the coach likes what he or she sees, then she's going to contact the athlete and say, I like what I saw in your video. I'm interested in getting to know more about you. I want to copy your transcript. I want to talk to your coach. I want to talk to your private trainer. I want you and your parents to visit my campus, come to my camps, so forth and so on. Now that athlete is at the next level of being successfully recruited. So that part there, that recruiting video, is extremely, extremely important. Once a coach likes that and says, I want to get to know more about you, now we're talking about not only email communications between the athlete and the coaches, but also telephone conversations. And then hopefully your athlete's going to be able to either attend the summer camps, or he or she and their parents are going to be able to visit the campus, meet the coach, see the athletic facilities. So this next phase is all about communications between athlete and coaches. And so we're going to go through and explain to you, here's the information the athletes have to know. Here's how they research a college athletic program and the school itself before they go on a visit. Here are the kind of questions they want to ask of the coach. Here are the kind of questions the coach will ask them and how to answer them. So that communication aspect is where they evolve from just one of 7.5 million participants in high school sports to one of maybe 25 or 30 athletes that play their position in their sport, graduating in their year, that coach or those coaches are aware of and are pursuing. So now taking it to the next step, we're talking about having your athletes going to summer camps or going and visiting campuses. Katie's going to explain more about that.
So we want to make sure that your student athletes are as prepared as possible before they attend a summer camp, go on an unofficial visit, or prepare for an official visit. These are really critical meeting points with coaches, and that our student athletes, as we prepare them for these events, have done their homework, done their research, understand where they're going, who they're meeting with, and have a good list of questions and things to be asking, and be prepared to answer questions as well, and things to be doing on the campus while they're there to make sure they really have a full experience and come home with a firm understanding of what it is that they're committing to if they choose to go to a particular school. Now, when it comes to the procedures for our webinar series, we'd like to make sure you understand that we have a series of weekly communications that we'll go through so that you're prepared for each week's webinars. We'll have 2 webinars a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. There will be pre-reading from the counselor's manual, and that's just to help you get the most out of the webinar sessions. Not required, but certainly will be helpful for you as you listen to, if you've read it once and then you're listening to what we talk about on the webinar, we believe that you will get the most out of these sessions. We have prepared an online counselor classroom for you, and that's where we will have respond to each webinar session with an RSVP so that we know that you'll be attending. After we've recorded the webinar, we'll be posting the recordings there on that same page with a password so that you can, if anytime, 24/7, if you weren't able to attend the live webinar, you can go and watch that recording whenever it's convenient for you. We've certainly had a lot of counselors this last time. You know, they could maybe attend half the sessions, so that came in very handy. Also, we do answer live questions during the webinar as much as we can, but when we run out of time, then we take whatever questions have come in throughout the session and respond to them in writing. Also there on each weekly page so that you can go back after the fact and review both the recording and whatever we said in the Q&A session as well as in writing. One of the really phenomenal tools that we believe adds a lot of value as well, the webinar resource page is an extension of our counselor's manual. The counselor's manual will give you a lot of detail in writing. The resources page, which is online in the counselor classroom, provides a lot of online links to resources that you will find incredibly useful as you go through this process. As we told you, there really is no other resource out there for counselors to be able to learn how to do this kind of counseling effectively. So we believe that our professional development course is one of the best that you'll find around. And we hope that you will join us because we believe that the more we can train you counselors and the better you are working with student athletes, we benefit our student athletes greatly throughout their college going experience. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at david@playcollegesports.com, or you can call 949-306-3310. Remember, we're in Southern California. And we hope that you will enroll in our webinar series. After this video is complete, you can go to the bottom of the page and there's a button there you can click on and reserve your spot today using credit card.
Also, if you're going to be attending the WACAC annual conference or the HECA annual conference here in California in June, one or both of us will be attending each of those events. At the HECA annual conference, actually, we'll be giving a presentation there. So please feel free to come up to us, introduce yourselves, and we'd be happy to discuss with you and answer any questions you may have in regards to the resources that we're making available to counselors to better be able to help them with their college recruiting process. We want to thank you again for joining us today, and hope that you will join us on July 11th through August 15th for the upcoming webinar session. And as Katie mentioned, if you can't make a live session because you're going on vacation or you're going to a wedding or have some other kind of scheduling conflicts, you're always going to have access to the recorded sessions at any time at your convenience. They're going to be available 24/7 during the specified time period. Also keep in mind that this session that we have, this upcoming session, July and August, is going to be the last one we'll have in 2017. We will not have another presentation like this until sometime in 2018. Also, feel free to share this information with any of your colleagues who may be interested in learning more about counseling and guiding their college-bound student athletes. So with that, I want to thank you again, and we hope that you have a very enjoyable summer of 2017. Thank you.
Thank you.